Hi guys! I get fancier and fancier with my screen backgrounds and my fonts. Today I'm coming to you with an owl. We are in Module 4, Lesson 21, and our aim is how do we explain the size of the product and relate decimal equivalents to multiplying a fraction by 1. The aims always seem very complicated, but they're not. Okay. So when we express a fraction as a decimal, the denominator must be 10, 100, 1000, whatever it is that it's a multiple of 10 in order to get a fraction. You guys know this for a very long time that all decimals are based on multiples of 10. Okay, so we have tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So what we're going to do here is just look at what I did. I took 1/4 and I multiplied it by 25 25ths, which is the same thing as multiplying it by 1, right? Okay, so then 1 times 25 becomes 25, and 4 times 25 becomes 100. So then the fraction 1/4 is equal to 25 hundredths. So basically, this entire lesson revolves around finding a numerator that is a multiple of 10. That's what the whole thing's about. Okay, so let's keep going. Here's our word problem. Jack said that if you take a number and multiply it by a fraction, the product will always be smaller than what you started with. Is he correct? Why or why not? Explain your answer and give at least 2 examples to show your thinking. So the answer is no, he's not right. When a number is multiplied by a fraction that is equal to 1, you get the same number as the original number. So here are 2 examples. My number's 3, okay? That's not changing. 3 is in each of these algorithms. Okay, so I multiply 3 by 4/4, which is equal to 1, which then becomes 12/4, and then I change that improper fraction to the whole number 3. Again, here I have 3. I multiply it by 10 tenths, which is equal to 1. And then it becomes the improper fraction of 30 tenths, which then becomes the number 3. So, is he right? No, because when I multiply a whole number by a fraction that's equal to 1, I get the same number. Okay, so it's not always. Other than when you multiply it by a fraction equal to 1, yes, you will get an answer that is less than the number you started with, okay? Unless you have an improper fraction. But a regular fraction will give you an answer that is lower than the number you started with. So let's just check that out for a second. So if I have 3 times 1/2, I would have 3 times 1/2, and then I would have 3/2, and I would end up with 1/2. So then, yeah, I have a lower number. Okay, but this is half of 1. So my number 3 gets cut in half. All right? Okay, let's see. Okay, when you have the same numerator and the same denominator, the fraction is equivalent to 1. We know this. We've been doing this for a long time. There are infinite possibilities. You can have anything. I know some of you guys are getting ridiculous right now, but yes, you can have like 10,946 over 10,946 and it still equals 1. Okay, so no matter what the number is, if the numerator and the denominator are equal, the fraction is equal to 1. Important information there. Okay, so here we go. What happens when you have a number that you want to change into a decimal, but it is not a factor of 10, 100, or 1,000? So let's make an eighth into a decimal fraction. So first you have to think about the factors of 8. So the factors of 8 are 1, 2, 4, and 8. How will that information help you? Well, we know that 2 is a number that can be multiplied by 5 to get 10, or 50 to get 100, or 500 to get 1,000. So that works. We also know that 4 will get us 4 times 25 will get us 100. We can't multiply 4 by anything to get us 10, but we can do 100 or 1,000. The problem is we need 8 to be broken up to get one of those numbers. So what I chose to do here is I took my 1/8, okay, follow this now, and I turned it into 2 times 2 times 2. All right, that shows me factors of 8. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. All right, we have that. Then I'm multiplying the whole thing, the whole 1/8, by 1, basically, because I want to get this same exact number as a decimal. So these are equivalent. 125 thousandths is equal to 1/8. I'm going to say this very slowly, okay? So my 1/8 I could break down into 1 over 2 times 2 times 2, because that equals 8. And then I'm going to multiply it by something that's equivalent to 1, although it looks kind of strange. But 5 times 5 times 5 is 25 times 5, which is 125. Correct? Are you with me? Okay. Now I'm going to use the distributive property. I'm going to take my first 2 and my first 5 and put them in parentheses. 2 times 5. Second 2, second 5, put them in parentheses. 2 times 5. Third 2, third 5, put them in parentheses. 2 times 5. Okay, got that? All right, so now we have 10 times 10 times 10, right? Because that's what each one of those parentheses equals. So 10 times 10 is 100, times 10 is 1,000. 5 times 5 is 25, times 5 is 125. So if I write this fraction, 125 thousandths, as a decimal, I get 125 thousandths. Since I multiplied this by this fraction, whose numerator and denominator are identical, which means that that fraction is equal to 1. Okay, you got me? Then I can say 1/8 is equal to 125 thousandths. Okay, they're the same thing. Now I could prove myself by showing it with division, which we know how to do, right? Remember the thing, 1/8, how do you know what goes in here? The 8 stays still and the 1 jumps down into the house. Every number on the face of the earth has a decimal point after it. We just don't use it. We add zeros as we need them until we finish. So I'm not going to explain the division to you because you guys know how to do that. But here you can see that I end up with the same answer. All right? Let's keep going. So here are some practice problems. All right? So if I have 5 25ths and I want to turn it into a decimal, I'm going to multiply it by 4 fourths because 25 times 4 will give me 100. So that works. This this, and this are all equal to 1, which means this and this number are the same thing. They have the same value. It's just one is a fraction and one is a decimal. Okay, so 5/25 times 4/4 equals 20 hundredths, and then we write it as a decimal, 20 hundredths. 6/5 times 2 halves equals 12 tenths, which is an improper fraction, which is going to give me the decimal 1 and 2 tenths, because I have 12 tenths, and I know that means 12 divided by 10, which is 1, remainder 2. Okay? Here, I have 4 50ths. I'm multiplying it by 2 halves. I end up with 8/100ths, which gives me 8 hundredths. So this and this are equivalent. All right, so do we have that? Okay, so basically this whole this whole lesson revolves around getting a denominator to be a multiple of 10, because you have to change your fraction into a decimal. That's the deal. And honestly, the 1/8 that came up before over here is like the hardest thing in this whole lesson. I'm looking at the questions they're asking you right now, and they have like numbers like 4, 5, 20, 50. They're all easily multiplied to give you multiples of 10. So not so bad on this one after lesson 20, which was the conversions, which we didn't like very much. So I think this video is pretty much done. We did that, and here you go. Do problem set number 1. So, time out. Number 1, and, sorry, good thing I proofread this, and number 2. Number 2 is A through L, but they're very straightforward. Okay, it's like the first one is this, just to give you a peek. I know you have the page in front of you, but just so you see what they want you to do. So they give you this, right? So they want you to say 1 times 25 is 25. 4 times 25 is 100. So that equals 25 hundredths. Okay, that's the deal. That's what we're doing. I think I also want you to do problem set number 1, all problems. I did number 5 on the answer, on the long answers, and I did number 3 for you on the long answers. So why don't you try number 4 and number 5. Okay, so those are the word problems, because I did the number 3 word problem for you. That's the one before with Jack. And I did, oh no, time out. I did 5, so you don't have to worry about that, because that's the one with the 1/8. And then I kind of did part of the end of 5. Okay? So I think you could do as much as you can possibly do on this. It's not going to take you long. It's really just multiplying the denominator by something that gives you a multiple of 100. All right? Alrighty then. So you have fun doing your homework, and I'll have fun making some more videos.